Hello ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, my name is 𝓫𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓫. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. And that's Maera, she's the best girl in the world. And today I just wanted to do a quick wrap-up of the previous challenge I did in my channel, which was to read one graphic novel per day in 2021, and I failed it successfully. I mean by that I read 330 graphic novels, so I failed in terms of I didn't read 35 novels to close the number, but I understood in the process of this journey that numbers are not that important for me, and this achievement of reading 330 graphic novels, that was already so much, and I was just so happy to discover so many new artists and writers that achieving my main goals wasn't really that much of a goal on itself, and I enjoyed the journey so much. And that's the Christmas city that my grandmother did in the background, and I just enjoyed this challenge so much, and I enjoyed this journey, and I'm so grateful for everyone who already subscribed to my channel. And I will post later wrap-ups of the books I read sooner or later, I should say this, because read these graphic novels was more important for me than to do the videos, and I will try to change it in the next year. And for the next year I have a different challenge, much less ambitious but much more heartfelt. I will tell you about it in the end of my vlogmas, which will start today because I am a member of Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and in Ukrainian Orthodox Church we are celebrating Christmas on 7th of January by Julian calendar and not by Gregorian calendar as the rest of the world. And that's why I will do my vlogmas in the 7 days before Orthodox Christmas. So I will be very happy to deliver videos every day on my channel and mess up my algorithm so much that YouTube will never forgive me. So I hope that it will be a cheerful year for everyone. It definitely have been a cheerful year for me in the last year. Not me making an editing update because I forgot to pull out some stats. So according to Goodreads statistics, I read 5,267 pages this year, and the average length of book was 136 pages, which is obviously so short, but it makes sense since I was reading mostly graphic novels. And my shortest book was just 8 pages by Ricardo Delgado. His a little short story on baby turtles. And my longest graphic novel I read in 2021 was Bottomless Belly Button by 𝓫𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓴, and it was 720 pages, which is pretty long for graphic novel. And to be honest, it did not need 720 pages. It was really long and boring, but I still did it somehow. My most popular book was Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. More than 1 million people read it or shelved it on Goodreads, and it's crazy, but it's a childhood classic for English-speaking countries, so it makes sense. I read it just a few weeks ago in the end of December. And the last popular book was album Parks of Hannover, which makes sense because I edited myself. I had this book in my collection and I didn't find it on Goodreads, and since it was printed, I think, in Germany, I decided to edit manually to list it because I'm that petty, and of course no one else listed it yet. Then it were books that were not graphic novels, and I will have videos throughout this vlogmas which will wrap up my non-graphic books that I read this year. In general, I read 367 books, and from them 330 graphic novels. So everything else were just, regular books. My average rating for 2021 was 3.7 stars, but I do not pay much attention to star ratings, so it doesn't matter that much for me. But I would say definitely there were a lot of average books on this journey, because I was just discovering a new genre for me, and it's normal that I came across some books that were just meh, or that were straight away bad for me. Then the lowest rated book, and by book I mean graphic novel, on this reading journey, on this challenge, were Little Preacher Duology by Rutland, and it had average rating of 2 stars, and just I think 2 or 3 people read it in general. Beginning of the series that were never finished, about a son of a preacher who is really paranoid and indoctrinated into Christianity, and it has never been finished, as I already mentioned, and maybe for good, I don't know. It was in the beginning of my reading journey, and I just trapped into it, and I read it occasionally, but it wasn't in my plan to read it anyways. And the next one is the highest rated. It was the 𝓫𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓴𝓼, third book from 𝓫𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓴𝓼 series by Katie O'Neill, and it has average rating of 4.55 from 6,231 ratings. So it's really high rating, and I think it's also so high because it was third book in the trilogy, and if it was first, some people just read the first book and they disliked it and rated it low, but they didn't go up until the last book to rate it low. And I guess only people who already liked the first 2 books rated this one and read it, and that's why the rating is so high. But in general, my rating for it is also high, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's about, well, this imaginary world of monsters and creatures by Katie O'Neill, that incorporate a lot of themes of friendship, loss, memories, legacy of some crafts and arts, and creativity. And I enjoyed this. The most known graphic novels I read this year was Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. It was a graphic novel about one really bad guy and his sidekick who ended up being not so bad. And it was really funny, really popular book. And the least popular, or the least known book in this reading journey was Bittersweet Romance by Victor Cayro, which only I think 1 or 2 other people read except of me, and it was a really short story, almost wordless, about toxic masculinity, about abuse, and generational trauma, but told in a very convoluted way with a lot of color, a lot of weird images, and I honestly cannot recommend it, and I understand why so less people read it. And if we will say about books which were not graphic novels, the most popular one, of course, also was The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. I also read it in the last year. Today is the 1st of January already, while I'm editing it, and it has 226,256 ratings on Goodreads, so it's pretty well-known child classic, and of course it had such a high number of people who read it. And the oldest graphic novel I read this year was God's Man, a novel in woodcuts by Lynn Ward. It was published first in 1929, and it was a story about an artist who sold his brush and his soul to the devil. It was told completely silently. I think it was the first silent graphic novel in the world. And the newest release was The Last Witch, 2nd issue of it, by Conor McCreary, with cover art of Vivi Glass and colors of Natalia Nesterenko, and it was published February 10th last year. It's the most recent stuff I lend my hands on. It's a 2nd issue of story about a girl who is trying to save the world by magic, Gallic inspired fantasy for young adults. And today I just went through the countries from which I read the books this year, and I meant graphic novels, and I read quite a lot of books from the US. I will put the number on the screen, and France is the largest number on my list. Then comes Japan, 4 books from Poland, a little bit from Italy, 4 from Argentina, probably the same number as Italy is from Canada, then around 10 from the UK, 3 from Switzerland, 7 or 8 from Australia, 11 from Norway, and it was all by Jason, 5 from New Zealand, more than 10 from Spain, 1 from South Korea and 1 from Croatia, 1 from Greece, 3 from Finland, 4 from Israel, 1 from Romania, 3 from Belgium, 1 Turkish, 1 Russian, 4 from Iran, and it was all by Marjan Satrapi, 2 from Lebanon, 1 from Vietnam, 1 from Czech Republic, 3 from Germany, 1 from China, 1 from Mexico, 1 from Sweden, and 3 from Brazil. I think it was a very fun stat to pull out. And in general, I just would say I enjoyed the journey a lot. It had some faults about which I will talk on my Vlogmas in the worst books I read this year. And it definitely had a lot of high points in which I would talk in this Vlogmas in the video that would be probably called basically the best books I read in 2021, but it will only concern the graphic novel challenge. So it was definitely a great reading year for me, and I'm looking forward to this Vlogmas, and I'm looking forward to the new reading year and new reading challenges. Thank you so much for your attention and being with me this year. Hope next year I will be much more consistent in putting out my content, and I'm kissing you and wishing you very, very happy 2022. Bye.